Most empaths don't attract avoidant people by accident. There is something in the depth of their emotional perception that calls to the avoidant, not because they're weak or because they need rescuing, but because avoidants are drawn to what they cannot easily manage, what threatens their carefully constructed walls. And here's the thing, it isn't conscious. Avoidants aren't calculating it. They are unconsciously magnetized to empaths because empaths see the parts of them that even they try to hide. Super empaths, the ones who feel everything, who absorb energy and emotion like an unrelenting tide, are especially magnetic. They don't just see surface feelings, they sense the unspoken, the unspeakable. They feel the contradictions that haunt an avoidant's inner life, the desire for connection, the terror of vulnerability, the shame that follows love that they don't know how to hold. To an avoidant, this intensity is both fascinating and unbearable. Most people assume avoidant individuals pull away because they don't care, because they feel nothing. But that's a simplification that misses the psychological reality entirely. Avoidants don't retreat into emptiness because they are heartless. They retreat because intimacy terrifies them. And yet behind that retreat, there's an internal struggle so vivid, so consuming, that they cannot speak of it. Ghosting, withdrawing, or emotionally distancing is not a final step of indifference. It's a strategy to survive the unbearable tension between desire and fear. The moment they withdraw from a super empath, avoidants experience a paradox, relief mixed with self-hatred. Relief because the emotional intensity they can't navigate has eased. They no longer have to manage someone else's feelings alongside their own, but almost immediately, self-hatred surfaces. They see themselves as cowards, as people who hurt those who cared deeply, as individuals who chose avoidance over courage. These feelings coexist, and coexist painfully. And because they can't admit them, because admitting them would mean acknowledging how much they actually cared, they fall silent. Their silence is not strength, it's suffering. Then there's the obsessive replaying of interactions. Avoidants go over conversations, messages, moments of connection, sometimes for months, sometimes years. They aren't doing this to relive love. They are doing it to justify their withdrawal. Their mind becomes a courtroom where they are both the accuser and the accused, searching for proof that ghosting was necessary, that distance was right. And yet, no amount of self-justification ever quiets the truth. They ran because intimacy scared them. They ghosted because love felt too big. And the fact that they can't stop replaying proves they were never free of you. They just buried the connection underground. There is also what psychologists call phantom limb syndrome, but in emotional form. Avoidants feel the absence of a super empath like a missing limb. Every routine, every habit, every small joy that was once shared carries an echo of the other person. They feel the absence physically, yet they deny the emotion consciously. They miss the empath without admitting it, even to themselves. This unacknowledged grief keeps them tethered, quietly obsessed, long after they appear to have moved on. Rage at their own emotional needs is another layer. Avoidants cannot tolerate the recognition of dependency. Feeling grief, longing, guilt, or desire reveals a vulnerability that they have spent a lifetime trying to transcend. They become furious at themselves for needing, for feeling, for being human. This rage is internalized, feeding cynicism about love, dismissiveness, and harsh judgment of those who show emotional need. But beneath the surface, it's rage at their own humanity, a terror that they are not as self-sufficient as they believed. Then comes the terror that you have moved on. Avoidants often fantasize that if they left, you would wait, emotionally suspended, ready to receive them whenever they felt capable. The reality that a super empath could heal, grow, and find fulfillment without them is terrifying. It undermines the entire unconscious strategy, leaving to gain control while keeping you emotionally available. This terror often drives checking behaviors, curiosity about your life, and subtle ways of observing from a distance, not to reconnect genuinely, but to confirm that their absence still matters. Shame accompanies all of this. Deep, corrosive shame about cowardice, about emotional immaturity, about choosing comfort over courage. Ghosting is the easy way out for avoidants. It spares them the challenge of intimacy while leaving their partner to navigate the emotional fallout. This shame is profound because it exposes the contradiction in their self-image: strong, independent, and capable versus weak, fearful, and unprepared for emotional depth. To acknowledge this shame would be to admit dependence on avoidance itself. And layered on top of all this is grief. Grief for the relationship that never fully existed, for the love that could have been nurtured if they had faced their fears. They mourn a potential future, a version of themselves that could have been brave enough to stay. They replay moments of connection in private, imagining what might have happened if they had leaned into love instead of fleeing. This grief is not fleeting. It is a quiet shadow that follows them for years, a testament to the depth of what they lost by avoiding intimacy. Finally, super empaths unknowingly trigger a secret hope in avoidance, that the empath will reach out first. Avoidants desire reconnection, but without having to face the responsibility for the damage they caused. They hope the empath will bridge the gap, repair the rupture, and in doing so, allow them a return without confession. This hope is twisted because it demands emotional labor from the very person they abandoned, but it also underscores the depth of the unconscious pull they feel toward someone who sees them completely, who cannot be ignored. All of these internal processes explain why super empaths attract avoidance. The empath's sensitivity and intensity illuminate the avoidant's inner contradictions. Avoidants are drawn to empaths not because they are easy to love, but because empaths expose what the avoidant cannot tolerate: the need to feel deeply, the reality of dependency, the truth of longing, and the terror of vulnerability. Super empaths are a mirror to the parts of avoidance they deny. The very depth that overwhelms them is also what fascinates them, the parts they long to connect with but cannot. This attraction is rarely balanced, rarely easy, because the very dynamics that draw them together are the same dynamics that push them apart. Avoidants retreat to manage fear. Empaths stay to absorb and process intensity. And yet, the bond forms. It is magnetic, invisible, and psychologically potent. It leaves lasting impressions. The empath carries the weight of absence, and the avoidant carries the weight of internal conflict. Both are forever changed by the encounter. Understanding this dynamic is essential. It is not about blaming or pathologizing. It is about seeing the unconscious mechanisms at play, the way avoidance and empathy intersect, in ways that create both magnetic attraction and inevitable tension. The empath can learn to recognize patterns without losing themselves, and the avoidant can only change when they confront their own internal contradictions. The lesson here is profound. Super empaths attract avoidance because they operate on a level that forces confrontation with the most hidden aspects of self. Love is not simple, and neither is avoidance. But in recognizing these patterns, both sides gain clarity. The empath sees the depth of their own emotional magnetism, and the avoidant is confronted with the mirror of their unresolved internal life. So, if you are a super empath wondering why you always seem to encounter avoidance, know this. It is not bad luck, nor is it a failure. It is a reflection of the intensity you carry, the depth you project, and the unconscious challenges you pose to someone who cannot yet navigate vulnerability. And understanding this is the first step toward relationships that are healthier, more conscious, and more fulfilling, because once you see the patterns, you're no longer unconsciously participating in them. You are choosing the depth, the connection, and the love you are capable of giving without being defined by the avoidance.